I'm ready to slash and burn.
No border. I am going to be uncomfortable and all over you from start to finish.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Outside of the Box. And I'm excited to have had, the chance to do a couple of family interviews lately, especially family members who have really good killer robots. And, this is no exception. So I have the Cokley brothers here with me, who are the builders of Superscope and Cthulhu. So welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having us on.
Happy to be here. Yeah, anytime.
Absolutely. It's funny. I was actually at the May event, and I remember, that's the first time that I remember seeing, this Ohio crew. And there
we brought a lot out of that.
There was obviously a lot of buzz with what Maximizer was able to do at that event, and you both turned around and said, "Hey, we're going to come back and we're going to do just as well in June." So, excited to have you both to talk about your robots and just, welcome.
Yeah, thanks.
Sounds like fun. Yeah, let's give it a go.
All right. So first of all, as I often do for new guests on my show, if you both can kind of just tell everybody a little bit about your background and how these, designs came to be.
Yeah.
It kind of starts with you at first, I guess.
Okay. I'm Owen. I'm president of RECR, RE Combat Robotics. I got started in a high school engineering block class at Centerville High School. So I fought in the 15-pound class. I've won that weight class 3 times at our local event. And I got into Norwalk last year. So I've only been competing at Norwalk for about 2 years now, with Kaleidoscope and then Superscope and Spectroscope. And then I've been coaching the University of Cincinnati teams. So even though we're registered separately as RECR and UCCR, I do coach the teams. I will be doing a senior design project for them this fall. But Superscope was kind of just an evolution of Cthulhu. So
yeah, I mean, I got into combat robots from Owen, and it was as soon as he had his first competition, I was overjoyed. It was so much fun to see him win the first time, see him work. And one of the bots, the weapon went out on his first one, and we made wedges out of the side, the wheel guards, and it was just the most fun thing ever. He won most innovative a couple times. He's pretty humble about it, but he did really well for himself in the 15-pound category. After that, for years, I have wanted to build a bot. I am, 5 years behind you? Yeah. I'm 5 behind Owen. So I eventually got to the same engineering program at Centerville, and I joined. I was already looking good in there because Owen and Kale were both already through that, and they both already made some killer robots.
We've got one more middle brother named Kale. I'm the oldest. We've got Kale and then Corey.
He will be joining with the senior design, hopefully. Yes.
He will be on the bot that we'll be bringing in the spring.
Yes, he will. But after that, I made my first Cthulhu last year.
No, it was this spring.
This spring, actually. Yeah. I made a Cthulhu 15-pounder. It was 3 inches tall, huge, massive. It had 3/4 UHMW around the entire frame, and then same sandwich style, huge weapon. What is it? 4.2-pound weapon. It was something dumb. Yeah, it was crazy. It did all right. I think I was happy with it. I threw something together with my internship going. Then I knew after that event that Norwalk was going, and it was the May event that UC was going to. Everybody, yes. All my friends, Owen was going, and I really wanted to bring Cthulhu to that, but I had to lose 3 pounds, so I did a complete redesign on it, and that was the May Cthulhu that everybody saw. I did all right. I was proud of what I did, and it was a great run for just the test robot in the first iteration. I lost to Crunk, definitely not something to be disappointed about. He's a mean bot. And then it was the Cthulhu you all know and love at this last event that I won my first match against Buzzkill, and then I went right for Crunk right after and got my redemption back. So, I mean, it's in stone already how that event went. I'm sure everybody would love to see it again. I'm hoping to as well. But that's the Cthulhu version right now. We made small changes. If you want us to go into it,
We'll probably
can.
get it later.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll definitely get into that. But I'm curious, like, because obviously when you go to an event, there's varying levels of confidence, but it would be hard to predict that it would end up the way that it did. Were you surprised at all that it came down to the two of you at the end?
I mean, starting the competition, especially after day one in my qualifiers, I hate to say it, I was feeling good. I was feeling good.
He was trash talking everybody.
No matter what, I mean, hey, even if I went home after losing my next fight, I just was so proud of what I did on the first day and how well I accomplished what I failed to do the first time. So I was very confident, and I predicted myself going extremely far. Owen, I did not predict going very far. Maybe winning a couple matches, like 2 at most, and he definitely proved me wrong.
There's an interview earlier in the day with me where I say that I'm probably not going to make it to the finals and I'm probably going to lose because Superscope was supposed to just be a glass cannon that was supposed to just be funny and lose immediately. It was not supposed to do as well as it should have.
It was a joke bot, honestly.
It was literally a joke.
Before the event, Owen and I were laughing about. He was showing me this idea of taking my bot and throwing 4 batteries in it, and I was like, "What are you doing? It's never gonna work. You have no weight for it, no space." And he made this monstrosity out of TPU on the sides, and I was like, "What is this thing?" The 1/4-inch frames. It was so tiny, and I was like, "Oh man, this is not gonna go well." But I was so excited to see it, and then he impressed me every fight of the day that I was next to him. It was amazing. I was speechless after every hit he did. I was speechless completely. It was incredible. Yeah.
For both of you, what do you think that like the toughest match was out of all of the ones that you had?
The hardest out of both bots was definitely his.
I had my disco match. I was definitely sweating. It was my scariest match the entire day. Actually, the actual match itself was scary, don't get me wrong, but the torrential match, I wasn't as scared going into it just because it wasn't as far in the bracket. But when the fight started, the two were pretty similar after they started going. Disco definitely held its own a bit longer, which made it a lot harder. But if I'm showing my bot to somebody, I show them the disco fight. It was incredible. I like to cut out the spot where I flipped on my back because, we don't talk about that. But it was so much fun, that fight. I was overjoyed. That was my most happy fight, happy moment. Even forgetting about the bracket, beating that bot was incredible.
I think for me, my toughest was definitely Woodley-Wah. That was the only fight with Superscope that went more than a couple of seconds. Okay, there was the Bobby fight, but my weapon went down.
We don't talk about that.
We don't talk about it. Yeah. But the Woodley-Wah fight was just a massive amount of back and forth hits, and me accidentally taking out their mini bot, and just a bunch of other fun stuff.
Losing the bot where it is on the floor.
I fought last year's champion, Huge, and that was literally like one hit is all it took. And I was expecting that fight to be a little bit longer, but the amount of power that this thing packs, it's super impressive that Woodley-Wah did as well as they did. I cannot say how much they impressed me with how well that bot did.
Definitely, yes.
Yeah.
I agree 100%. That bot was definitely mean. I was not expecting that going into it. They really kicked some butt. That was a sweet robot. I cannot wait to see what it looks like next time.
Yeah, definitely. Now I'm curious too to get your thoughts because I've had Joe and Don Doerfler on this podcast, and we talked about the whole brothers versus brothers situation. You know, how did you both feel about that?
It was a lot of fun, but a little nervous at the same time. Both of these bots at this event needed a mini bot to run. So each match, one of us was driving the bot, one was driving the mini bot, and then we would switch. So during the huge and then disco fights back to back, we literally got done with the huge fight, walked over to the other box, and then fought. So we were really hoping the mini bot didn't get taken out in the huge fight because we would have been DQ'd from the disco fight because we didn't have anything else ready.
Yeah. We don't like to talk about that one. It was a close call. Who knew that one slice on that mini bot could have been the end for us anytime in the day?
We'll be bringing a lot more for future events.
Don't try to catch us again with that trick, but we're bringing more next time. We learned from our slight corner cutting. Yeah.
But it was cool because we were also literally pitted right next to them. So we were watching each other go through the whole day, get ready, look at each other's bots, see what damage is done to it, and just assess each other the whole day. So we both kind of knew it was coming to that, and when we all won our top 8 matches and got to there, it was.
I mean, personally, the whole day, I never spoke to them. I was in the zone, but also I want to say I didn't speak to them because I knew they were probably one of the biggest threats there. So I just kind of stayed away, and I was like, I don't want to have to fight them. I don't want to have to see them. Like, just someone take them out. Like, I was. Then after that, I won my Honey Shocked fight, and then you won your Bobby fight.
Yeah,
after that, I was overjoyed. I was seeing the fights we had to go up against. I was like, we have to go through some sweet robots. And I knew that it was going to be definitely emotional, which it was. I was trying to hold it together, especially after the disco fight with how much joy I had going on. Man, it was tough. But yeah, the brother aspect, I loved it. Like I was telling my mom while I was about to fight Owen, I was like, this is the fight I am least scared of the entire day. I was so. It's hard to explain, but before the disco fight, I was sweating. I was nervous. I was like getting the shakes out. I was jumping around. Then Owen, I was smiling the whole time. I was jumping. I was loving the hits. I was loving the action. I was cheering, and it was an incredible fight. The end. It was almost an expedition at that point. It was amazing. Yeah.
Well, and I thought it was funny for those who are football or other sports fans out there, that it was not only brother versus brother, but it was like Ohio versus Pennsylvania, and it was like Bengals versus Steelers or something.
Pennsylvania's been ahead of us for a while, but we're trying to come back. So far, the next event, it doesn't look like very many Pennsylvania bots are coming. So we're looking to put on a show again.
Let's just bring our points in, hopefully. Yeah. Let's just keep getting the Ohio team going. Woo.
Oh, that's tremendous. I mean, personally, for me, being from the Midwest, the more bots there are in the Midwest, I say the better. So
we're hoping that Norwalk wants to open the Norwalk, Ohio event sometime soon. It's a long drive for us. It's like 11 hours each way.
We win enough, and maybe someday, we
can convince them.
We get us on our radar. Like we bring enough bots. Yeah, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that would be great, because then I could drive to the event instead of having to fly out to the event. Now, you mentioned changes to the bot and everything like that. I'm interested to hear about those changes going into June, and then if you're looking at any changes from here, because obviously you have the finals to think about at this point.
Yeah, not looking forward to it.
Let's start with yours because they're the least major.
Yeah, mine. So a couple issues last time. Mainly the gearboxes, obviously, because I was dead in the water at the end of the last fight. So I have the new gearbox right here. It is the exact same as the old one. So we are not changing anything. We're gonna cross our fingers, and we're gonna change it for November. Don't worry, but for this event, we just didn't have the time, and
I literally didn't take the bots apart until last Wednesday when I filmed my own recap video, so I didn't realize how they had broken until we already ordered the replacement parts for this upcoming event.
He has a business to run and a job. I got a full-time job. It's tough, but we're working on it. Then the frames for mine, this is the new one. It looks almost the exact same, except these are a lot skinnier. It's almost dangerously skinny in my opinion, but if it works, then we're golden because I shaved off a good amount of weight, enough to keep us solid under, and we can make some slight armor changes and whatnot, put some different screws in or anything, we just have a bubble. And then other than that, oh, one last thing of mine, the paint. I'm getting a complete recolor of my bot, decided by myself. I don't know why I felt like it. I think I felt like it because Superscope got so many compliments and mine didn't. I was kind of upset about that on the looks department. But now the bot is going to have a troll blue powder coated glossy frames and a orange blade like Gulf Oil, the Ford GT. It's going to look pretty sweet. I'm definitely looking forward to it. Those are getting painted tomorrow. So those are going to be in the Discord. We're going to send pictures of that. And then those are also going to be exactly how it's going to be in the event. That's how it's going to look. Other than that, the blades are getting a slight change. But I think you should talk about that one.
We might keep that change a secret.
Oh.
We changed around a little bit of the internal workings of the blade stack. You wouldn't notice the issues last event, but there's tiny bits of tweaks.
Yeah.
Superscope itself, I don't have much time to make changes for this event. I might try out some new ESCs and new drive motors if they come in time, but not many changes planned because I'm very low on time. For finals, though, I keep tossing back and forth whether I'm going to keep it Superscope or kind of just build another Cthulhu, because I feel like Cthulhu is more competitive and more heavily armored. But on one hand I want to have fun, but on the other hand, like I want to win like 15 grand. So like,
yeah, that's why that last fight, like I just want this to be super clear. Owen agrees. We've talked, like that last fight literally told us nothing about the bot. We still think that Cthulhu is better, or we think they're even. Like
the goal of the last event was that we tried new things on Superscope. So the goal was like, okay, one of them's gonna fail. Yeah. So like we can figure out which one's better, and neither of them failed. Yeah. So we have to go again.
And in that last fight, I mean, oh my bad, I'm changing my wheels as well. My wheels aren't gonna get ripped off. I'm using the Maximizer kind of style wheels. We're gonna have some cleats on mine, similar to what Superscope ran last time. So my wheels will not be getting ripped off again. But again, those are the slight changes that we're altering, and because we found out that they fall off when they get hit by a huge horizontal. But yeah, again, that last fight, it didn't tell us much because we wanted it to go against different competitors, and hopefully for now at least, there's not many of our type of bots in the field, so we don't have to worry about horizontals like that really. So fighting them against each other tells us kind of nothing unless one just died for some reason, and I didn't think that really happened. So again, they're pretty even in our minds. So.
Yeah, it's really interesting because when we recently I was talking to some builders, and when I did my panel on unconventional robots, and I think that they all agree that they would rather fight not like other unconventional robots. They would rather fight, the meta and, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And
well,
so
that's what you plan for.
Yeah. So most of the time when designing that, I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to fight like a 4-wheel driver with nice uprights that I can hit.
I'm going to fight Crunk.
Yeah. Like you're gonna fight Crunk or Prompetta. When we fought against each other, like we don't have belt guards, we don't have provisions to like protect each other from this. So this year we might be able to get away with it. Next year we're going to have to plan for more people to copy our same designs because they've done pretty well. So even if they don't do that well at finals, the showing that we had last event, more people are going to do it. So,
yeah, definitely. And I'm also curious to hear what you think, because I mean, yeah, I've said this a bunch of times, but I just like to get everyone's opinion on it because I know there's so many that like have done beetles in the past that want to get out of that because, you know, it's such a competitive field. I mean, personally, I think like 12s are really starting to get super competitive because of the fact that people are moving out of that and wanting to build a 12. And now, like, I mean, I can think of very few bots that I'm not like, that thing would probably kill my face.
I think like there's really competitive bots in the 3s. There's also a couple really competitive in the 30s. On average, nearly all of the 12s are higher than that. Like you don't have like an 80-20 mix of like decent bots or really good bots. You have like 60-70% of these are top contenders for this event.
Yeah.
There were so many people at the June event that said this feels like a finals, or like there were more caliber of bots there than at finals. That, well, it was also like the largest 12-pound field.
Yeah, I don't. In my mind, honestly, it's almost like 12 pounds is just like the perfect number or whatever. Like it's just in my mind, that's kind of how it feels. 3s, I don't think I will ever make a 3. I just, in my opinion, I just think there's too many bots. So I mean, I don't want to build one and then.
I did decent at the January event. I took 5th with Spectroscope, and didn't do as well at the next couple of events. But there's so many matches throughout the day, and I like showing off the machining, the welding, the ability that I have to do and fabricate parts.
And you can't do that on
Where
a 3,
the
right?
3s you could Crash Fest. It's a TPU brick. Like I make the forks for Crash Fest.
Like, don't get me wrong,
yeah.
super competitive. I don't want to do it because you have to go through so many fights and they're so difficult. And people in the 3-pounders, it's a whole different game. It's a whole different mindset. And I just like the 12s because that's what we've been taught with the 15s and that. And I feel like we are planning something with a 30, some type of 30, multiple 30s maybe. And that's why 30s, I feel in our eyes, are way easier for us to do personally than a 3. Because they're so much similar. It's just a 12 with some upscaled armor and just bigger electronics, essentially. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Because over time I have learned that, you know, the higher you go in terms of weight, the more similarities, because with 3s, right, you know, it's very easy to use material like TPU and things like that. And like once you go bigger, that doesn't really work.
Yeah, to be a competitive 3 as well, you also have to have like the exact right components for that weight size. Like you can't skimp out and say, oh, I'm going to use this motor that I have laying around. Where with 12s or 30s, you could just say, oh, I'm going to use these weaker motors and just make my bot more heavily armored instead of like weapon powered.
Even washers, like using different types of steel on washers and stuff, like it changes it. And that's why I'm like, it's a whole different, I can't. Like I don't even want to start thinking about it. Like, yeah.
Great. Now I'm curious, you know, because I ask a lot of people this just because I want to know, what are, you know, the thoughts of at some point, do you ever want to try and build a heavyweight, or are you happy building the bots that you're building right now?
I don't have the time right now to build one. It's out of the camera right now. I have all of the parts for Afterimage, Johnny's heavyweight, sitting on my table over there. So I'm actually title sponsoring that bot and making all the frames and weapons for it. So I already do a lot of parts for heavyweights. I am familiar with the electronics for them, but right now I don't have the time to do it. I might be interested in joining a team, but once again, I'm pretty drawn thin on a job that I fly around the country and back home making parts for other people, where maybe eventually, but I think we can do a lot in 12s as well.
Yeah, and same with me, honestly. Again, regardless of getting a crazy sponsorship for myself,
if I was cut a stupid check, I'd probably do it.
Exactly, maybe. But even in my eyes, like I said, even with against the heavyweights, I just feel like the 12 pounds are like the perfect weight too. Again, like I fly drones as well, and there's different, you go by prop size with drones. I have a 5-inch that I built myself, and it's same thing with drones, like 5-inch. I just love them. Like I think they're the sweetest. They're the perfect size. They're like little pocket ones. You can bring them around, hold them easily. Like I don't know. It's just personal preference, I guess. It's again, 250s. That's so much more weight. It's whole different. Like what is it? You sometimes use washing machine motors, and I don't even want to get into that. Like, I saw, what is it, emulsifier, the plow on emulsifier.
Seeing the 250s in person at Norwalk,
Yeah.
So that's the first time I'd ever seen a heavyweight in person
Yes.
was last Norwalk, or like last February was the first time I had gone to Norwalk and I'd seen a heavyweight in person, and it was so weird compared to the scale I thought.
Yes, it was crazy. I mean, we saw what is it, Warhard, the 250 sitting on a crate before we were about to fight him, and Owen was going up to fight Warhard, and he saw the 250 on the plate. I was like, oh my gosh, he built that go-kart of a battle bot, and I was like, that thing looks scary. They're demons, these bots. I can't even get into that. It's just wow.
Yeah. The scale is like you wouldn't be able to imagine, until you actually see it, what that scale looks like. Especially some of the larger ones. Like I know they have the big 250-pound huge is there right now, and standing next to that, it's just like.
So I do also have a Bloodsport blade on the wall over there. So I have that for scale. Maybe we'll make something with that at some point, but
using a metal or a bot.
Yeah. But yeah,
super solid.
Well, we certainly look forward to seeing more 12-pound action from both of you, as you've done so well in that, and looking forward to the finals. I mean, I think it's just going to be nuts. I mean, it is every year, but I think the level of competition, I think it just goes up every year, and I think it's going to be a really good finals.
Yeah,
I'm happy to be there. So ecstatic. I mean, I cross off that competition every year because I'm like, oh yeah, I'm not going to that, too sweaty and whatever. But now that's us. Like, it's crazy to put us in that same ballpark as some of these absolute pros that go into it and qualify and kick butt at those competitions. Yeah.
We've got a lot of work to do before then. I'm going to be really drawn thin with other work, school, bots, but we should be bringing some pretty good bots.
We're gonna bring some mean ones for sure. Yeah.
Well, that is awesome. I certainly look forward to it. I'm sure everyone else does. And for everyone who's watching, please make sure that you like, subscribe, keep supporting Combat Robotics. The more young people that get interested in this stuff and make really cool bots, the better. So just everybody keep watching, and we will see everyone next time on the show.